Hey, what's up, 180? Today I want to talk about the power of the 1%, and really it's the power of Kaizen. And so if we haven't met before, my name is Jen Fleck, and your holistic environment coach, taking from places stuck to authentic, thriving, personal training, group fitness, nutrition coaching, and life and empowerment transformational coaching. So you like, subscribe, and follow wherever you're watching to get more relevant information on your fit journey. So let's talk about how we go about changing our life. And if you're on my time, you know that I'm really about the small micro habits that we do daily. Because do you change it overnight? Of course we can't change things overnight. To change a single aspect of our life takes dedication, effort. Humans are creatures of habit, and once we've actually developed these habits, they became deeply ingrained in our psyche. And so this is a physical phenomenon that can be actually witnessed within the brain. And we'll look at that later at this. But despite many of our efforts, knowing this all intuitively, we can actually make better changes to ourselves. So 1% every day, right? If you're told to yourself, I'm going to start tomorrow, that involves going to a new gym 4 times a week, eating half of your current calorie intake, and then what? What happens? Well, Kaizen means improvement. It's adapted through a lot of different types of circles now, but it's a specific approach to improvement. One where you make tiny improvements, tiny steps toward the goal you're working towards. As the old saying goes, even the longest journey starts with a single step. And what is a 1,000-mile hike other than just single steps, right? When we look at challenges this way, anything becomes achievable. So we will learn how to take the concept and squeeze everything it's worth today. Whether it's your relationships, your fitness, your health, your business, anything at all. Kaizen will help you get there. Get ready for change and change for the better, starting with a single step. So let's first look at why we need Kaizen. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of what Kaizen is and how it works, let's first consider the alternative and why it's so important. As mentioned above, or previously, the approach many of us impulsively make towards self-betterment is to try to change everything all at once. That example of starting a new training program where you train 4 times a week and cut your calorie intake is one that a lot of people can probably relate to. Perhaps you've done something similar. The only problem is that this approach completely misunderstands the human psychology and reality of our lifestyles. Think about it. If you're currently out of shape, that's probably because you aren't working out and because you aren't eating right. But if that's the case, chances are it's because you're currently too tired and too demotivated to actually do those things. You probably come home from work in the evening, feel absolutely exhausted. So you just don't have the energy or the willpower to exercise, and that's completely understandable. And so now you suddenly expect yourself to have all this energy out of nowhere. You think you can go from being too tired to work out all of a sudden to be able to work out 4 times a week. And let's break down what that actually means. It means coming home from work and then getting changed into your gym clothes. You'll need to drive to the gym, maybe in the cold, shower after your workout, get changed, drive home, then have your stuff ready for the next day. So that one workout actually takes more like 2 hours, which means you're dedicating another 8 hours to your regimen. You realize that an entire working day, including lunch, is about 8 hours. You're not going to, going from nothing to 8 hours. Can you see here what the problem is? Meanwhile, you're also expecting yourself to go out and maybe in the cold. You're expecting yourself to be organized that before. You're expecting yourself to run and sweat in front of strangers and to miss out on your favorite TV program. You're not trying to learn one new habit, but rather learn a whole bunch of new habits while at the same time unlearning a bunch of other habits. And that's not all. Now you're burning 8 hours of extra energy. You're also planning on eating 500 less calories. You're going to work twice as hard while taking half the amount of energy. That looks like a great plan. The neuroscience, as it is, this wasn't really enough of a challenge, right? What you probably don't realize is just how much your neuroscience is working against you in this situation. Our brains are highly plastic. That means they're adaptable to change and physically restructure themselves according to our behaviors. You might be thinking that would be good news, though, when you're trying to learn new habits or lose old ones. But in fact, it works against us because the brain adapts hard to the repeated stimuli. The brain adapts and changes shape according to a very simple rule. Neurons that fire together, you probably heard it, wire together. So if you repeatedly do one thing followed by another, then those two experiences become linked together in the brain over time. And each time you do those things together, in order, you further reinforce the strength in that link. So the connections become, in other words, they are insulated and it makes the signals travel faster together. They grow more nodes and connection points. Eventually it gets to the point where you no longer have to think about it. Doing A triggers B. Changing that takes huge amount of work. In some cases, it might seem impossible. So attempt to make that kind of wholesale change across a multiple number of habits all in one, well, is somewhat futile. That's where Kaizen comes in, and it's why it's such a powerful and transformative tool. As we continue, we'll learn more about how to use this and put it to maximum use. Okay, so at this point, you may be wondering how this happens. When you lay it out like that, it appears obvious that making gigantic changes to your routine would never be effective. We'll spend some time determining how we're going to change our lives starting tomorrow, okay? There are a few reasons. The first is that it simply is that much more appealing that we do this. Nobody likes the prospect of hard work or taking on something huge amount of time. On the other hand, everything can change in a single day. It's immensely gratifying. And so it should come no surprise when we get caught up in this notion. The other issue is facing the media. Because of course it makes a whole lot more sense to advertise that, much more one and done approach. Gyms want to sell gym memberships, but they do that by telling us all in or go home. They tell us we should buy out all their workout equipment, the expensive protein shake, the year-long membership. Then, of course, what comes next is we feel guilty watching the money come out of our accounts every month while not getting fitter or stronger. Kaizen, okay? Kaizen is actually a business term that has been very much adopted by the self-improvement crowd, and that's popular among everyone that hopes to become happier, fitter, wealthier, and wiser. But begin as a business term, and understanding its foundation in this way can go a long way to help us grasp the concept in our lives and apply it. And if you happen to run a business, and of course, you're going to find this all the more useful. But this is going to stick with me because it's going to make sense and stick in your journey. The word Kaizen means improvement or change for the better in Japanese. However, the term is used more specifically to refer to continuous improvement or small changes. The word Kaizen first adopted this meaning in the world of business. This is especially pertaining to methodologies of car manufacturers, Toyota, initially. The strategy became successful, adapted to businesses for many organizations, and later to self-improvement field. The book, The Toyota Way, explains the use of Kaizen in detail and has actually categorized its uses to some extent. That said, okay, the self-improvement crowd has also somewhat adapted a little artistic license to the way we use this. In many self-help books, we tend to oversimplify Kaizen while others misinterpret some of the concepts. I'm going to clarify that today. Kaizen is all amount focusing on the small parts or making up small changes that add up to big differences. So, whereas many self-help books tell you that this translates into flossing your teeth a little every day to ingrain a new habit, that isn't actually anything to do with the original meaning of the word. That isn't to say that advice is merit. We will be discussing all types of Kaizen in the coming minutes, okay? So, let's look at the strict business interpretation first. So we understand the official version, which also happens to be very powerful and often overlooked. And I think it's going to really help you out as we dig in. So types of Kaizen in business, okay, in its original context, Kaizen has been generally broken down into two separate terms: Flow Kaizen and Process Kaizen. In Flow Kaizen, the approach looks like a value stream. So this might be a whole workflow in which the organization can look at different opportunities to improve the process. If you imagine a large production line which involves several stages, while we make tiny changes to each step of the way, they don't seem like they might have a big impact on their own. But when taken as a large, those tiny improvements can potentially have a huge result. Process Kaizen, on the other hand, is concentrated improvement on a single process. So that means looking at one step and making constant and consistent small improvements to get to the point where it can be best can be. So Kaizen is often described as bottom-up, meaning you start from looking at the most fundamental levels and making small changes there. You can potentially improve every aspect of your business or life. Let's look at business. Clean the floors. Why? Because cleaner floors mean fewer accidents, happier staff, leads to more efficient storage and retrieval. That leads to more funds left over, happier customers, leads to more moral and R&D. The results, better products, better brand image, simplify and eliminate the waste. Moreover, Kaizen is also about looking at the essentials of what I just said, the waste, okay? So, in any given process, there's almost always waste. This can be eliminated. By getting rid of those errors, you can significantly increase the speed of the process. This can have huge and transformational changes for a business and for your life. Let's imagine for a moment that you have someone who writes articles for a big blog and uploads them to WordPress every day. When you upload an article, you need to Add images and formatting like bolding, headers, etc. So your current workflow might look like this. Write the article. Read through your article. Fix spelling mistakes, all those kind of things, all those errors. Upload the article to your WordPress platform. Read through your work and do all that formatting. What's wrong with this? Well, nothing on the face of it, except by taking this approach, you're not working in the most efficient way possible. That's because you're currently reading through everything you wrote twice. That makes you make sure you spell everything correctly and then add images. So write the article, upload it to WordPress, read through it to fix the typos, plus all that formatting. This has effectively combined the two steps into one step that will take slightly longer than either on its own, but will be much quicker than doing both solo. And that in turn can potentially save a large amount of time in the long run. Let's say like it saves you 10 minutes per article and you upload 10 articles a day. That's 100 minutes back, and perhaps that now means you can afford to upload an additional article. If so, you might be able to earn an extra $30 a day. As a sole trader, you might use Kaizen, therefore, to earn an extra $30 every day without increasing your rates, working harder, or otherwise changing anything about your business. And Kaizen is always relentless because there's still probably waste here. What if you could remove the time spent uploading by writing directly into WordPress? And what if you batch all of your proofing and formatting together? Could that save you more time? Kaizen is constantly looking for waste and, like this, an opportunity to streamline and improve flows and processes. Here are a few examples of types of waste the Kaizen practitioner might look at in a typical business. I want you to think of how you can apply this to your own life, though. Defects, right? Mistakes, error, excessive processing, repairs, overproduction, overestimating demand, waiting for the next blank, inventory, working on stock and supply materials, transportation, moving, excessive movement time, not utilizing talent, while this type of Kaizen might seem less obviously applicable to your own personal life, truth is that it can be immensely powerful when we look at our own processes. What processes do you have? Okay, so let's look at some Kaizen concepts to consider. Kaizen gets even more powerful when you consider the power of some additional concepts. I'm going to stick with business because that's the foundation, but we're transferring over very quickly. These are the force multipliers and automation. This can apply to our personal lives as we see moving forward. So force multipliers. Force multiplier is a fancy term for any tool that allows you to get more done in less time without effort, okay? The obvious example of a force multiplier is a hammer, which allows you to hammer more nails more easily than you could ever do with your fist. However, in business, almost anything can be considered a force multiplier, such as a computer, piece of software running on a computer. The same goes with a forklift truck, which allows a single employee to move significantly more. Used wisely, they can save a lot of money and time and greatly increase your output. Personal MBA author Josh Kaufman explains the merits of and importance of force multipliers, but also explains their potential risks and downfalls. While a force multiplier will amplify your productive output, it also amplifies the potential errors. This is why Kaizen is so important. The more efficient your system, the more scalable it will be. It's also why it's so important to build your business right the first time, or your life, right? So that it is sustainable as it grows. Think of this like throwing a ball. If I throw a ball with a slightly the wrong trajectory, then it won't hit the target. Even a fraction of an angle over a great distance adds up to a large deviation. Thinking in terms of force multipliers allows us to potentially increase productivity and output without increasing overheads or time before hiring extra members. Ask whether or not you can implement a system to help you do the same thing more quickly. Automation is, of course, the process of automating some aspects of your life and your business. Whether it be production or marketing, or maybe it's you're cleaning your house, and it's a logical process of force multiplication. So this will often mean using a piece of software or a manufacturing tool to order or, to produce something with little to no human action. Again, the same risk applies though, as there's huge association with automating an error. So greater monitoring and observation is critical though here when looking at expanding operations. In case you're thinking about your business, automating aspects of your service and good strategy. So smart businessman or woman should always be looking for ways to make themselves obsolete, which means keeping an eye on the future, right, as well as giving a method increasing output. Novel automation can be used in a way productive, their service. So, how can you offer a service and remove the need of the human involvement? WordPress is a perfect example. Matt Mulling and his crew successfully managed and automated the process of building a website, turning into a service product. So there's actually 5 S's of Kaizen, and in business we say that they're the 5 S words of Kaizen. 5S itself is a fact known as a shorthand in business. So what are the 5 S's? S is sorting. This means that you keep your work in a designated area and keep yourself organized. Can you do that in life? Okay, listen to this start thinking transition to yourself. Systematic. This means that you arrange your items in optimal manner and efficient retrieval. This is extremely important for logistics and storage of business. For instance, if we see a lot of things, misplaced weapons, we waste a lot of time, right? Shining. Okay, this means cleaning the workplace and all their equipment. If your home is cleaner, what happens? This can reduce errors in the downline, but also standardized. So this means standardized process that can be repeated, tested, and fixed. Everyone knows what it is in your family. Sustaining. This means that you must maintain and adhere to the 4 prior S's. While this system was originally designed for manufacturing, once again, can work so well in any type of business or life. The opposite of Kaizen is Kaikua. While Kaizen can be immensely powerful when applied correctly, it also isn't right for every situation. Sometimes the workflow and everything is beyond salvation. In that place, we need to do the Kaikua, or drastic change. As you might have guessed, that means throwing out everything right out the window and starting all over again. You will find that massive change like this often meets with psychological resistance though, but it's only important that you only stick to a process or flow for the right reasons, and that does not include being sentimental. In other words, if you've been working on a website for the last 5 years and it isn't working, you might need to throw it out and start something else. If you've been trying the same diet, if you've been jumping off the diet wagon on and off again, it's not working, you might need to do something different, okay? One of the key aspects of success of Kaizen is knowing the difference. It's time to throw everything away, and when it's time for that just 1%. So Kaizen for getting in shape. Here we go, health and fitness. Okay, so far we have looked at a whole lot of theory regarding Kaizen, which we see how it works in business, manufacturing, where it started. But now it's time to address how we can put it into our personal lives to see the theory in action. We began looking at Kaizen as it applies to working out. The most obvious way to apply the concept of small changes every day to health and fitness is try to employ these idea in the micro workout aspect. This means that you will exercise for just a couple minutes each day to begin with. This then has numerous advantages. It makes the prospect of working out less daunting. It means committing to a much smaller challenge. While your energy levels are low, it means forming a new habit. So let's say instead of going 4 times a week, eating 500 extra less calories a day, you instead commit to doing 20 push-ups every morning and skipping your morning latte. So now you're actually a little bit every day, which will have some benefit, at least. While getting your blood pumping, it will tone your muscles slightly. What's more is you will begin to form a new habit. Fun fact. Many people believe it takes 30 days to form a new habit, but actually takes close to 66 days, according to the most recent research. In one study published by the European Journal of Social Psychology, researcher Philippe Lally, I believe is how you say it, looked at the habits of 96 people over 12 weeks. Each person chose a new habit to try 12 weeks and reported the day when they successfully stuck to the new habit. After analyzing the data, it concluded 66 days for a new habit to form. Though this was generally dependent on the individual, in some cases it took between 18 to 254 days to form. However long it takes, the idea is that once you begin partaking in particular behaviors for long enough, says 6 days, right? According to your research, it's then easier to build on that. So now someone who does 20 push-ups in the morning is much easier to go from someone who does 50 to try 50 right away, right? Likewise, if you're used to living off of 50 calories less than a latte, it might become easier to start dropping other sources of calories in your life. So true Kaizen and getting into shape. So is this true Kaizen? Not really. There's definitely a value in the concept of the micro workout. There's also definite benefit trying to cut your calories from routine, but really Kaizen for fitness should mean looking for your entire routine and assessing what about it is making you unfit. So cutting the latte is a good start. Perhaps you look for small changes you can make to reduce your calorie intake. And moreover, you might start looking for other reasons in your current routine that may be preventing you from training or eating right. In other words, you're going to look at your entire lifestyle, routine, one giant flow or process, and then attempt to make improvements so you want to get in shape, but you can't motivate yourself to do it. The problem is not physical, it's psychological. But how do you go about breaking bad habits and getting to the gym, and despite those reservations? Well, first of all, we need to assess what each of the psychological and situational blocks are stopping you from reaching your goals. And then we need to look at how to eliminate them. This will work for fitness, but it also works for any area of your life. You apply the same principles, I promise you. The key here is to recognize here that energy is finite resource. as it's time. You can't keep adding more things to your routine and expect you to get in shape. You're probably burned out and perhaps a little stressed or even depressed. That's why you're not in shape. If you want to improve your health, then you need to look at the ways to make your day more efficient so you have more opportunity to improve your health in other ways. So let's look at some powerful changes to improve fitness. What can go? First, ask yourself, what can go? If you're currently using all your energy by the end of the day or week, then you look at your current routine and ask yourself, what can I cut out? It might be something simple. Maybe you could stop going to the pub on Sundays, or maybe to something that requires a little more organization. Perhaps you could speak with an employer about working from home one day a week. This could save you a huge amount of energy. Even something small, like cleaning your dishwasher, so you aren't washing your plates more, can potentially save you a lot of time. You could be exercising. Don't keep trying to add to your life. Ask where you cut out. Where does it fit in is your next question. Remember in our example that switching the order of events when uploading articles could save countless of hours and lots of money? The same is true for exercise. So ask yourself, what is the best time for me to exercise? Keep in mind factors like showering if you exercise in the morning before you shower. Then you're not adding extra time to showering as well. Alternatively, you might find working out at your lunch break could work for you because you eliminate the need to travel. Here again, we're looking to reduce waste in the form of movement and non-utilized talent. That's you. More small fixes. But there are probably more small fixes you can make in this efficient mindset too. For instance, ask yourself how many calories you are currently burning a day. It may be that you are like many people who hardly move in a given day. Wearing a fitness tracker could, or step counter could help you, start tracking some of that. If you work at a commuter drive or don't engage in that much physical activity, then of course you aren't going to lose lots of weight during the day. Meanwhile, your body won't be adapted to any active lifestyle. So the way to start fixing that is to look at the routine and find opportunities to add small amounts of exercise. That means maybe walking further where you park, taking the stairs. Okay. It means maybe using a stand desk. I have a stepper by my desk, means maybe go for a walk at lunch. These small changes add up to big effects, but what's more important is they force these adaptations into your body and form your perspective. Your day will look very similar because you have fitted these movements into your day in logical ways. So the take home of this, if you're out of shape, now, that's probably systematic of an overly busy, overly stressful routine. That means your lifestyle is probably inefficient, and there are likely things you can do to win back energy, time, and vigor. Okay, you can do this. You can find smarter ways to be fit and new things, in that it can become things you want to do. There's an entirely different way to go about it and to get in shape, and it's far more effective. Okay, so I want you to really think of this. Really think about adding this into your life and really look at the different things that you can make this happen. Look at Kaizen. How can you put Kaizen into your actual reality? And this doesn't have to stop just with, you could look at your finances, you could look at your environment, you could look at your job, you could look at how you raise your kids. There's so many different things that go in here that is helpful. Look at your how to automate things, all those things. Figure out how to reward yourself. There's plenty of things out there that can actually help us out. And so I encourage you to really dig deep into this. And I have a lot more on Kaizen that I could go through. Make sure you keep track of, follow me, because I am leading a master series or masterclass on Kaizen in our lives, where we will actually break down and create out the plan. So that will be coming in the coming weeks, and I will post on here on all my channels as to how you can sign up for that. It'll be, I'm debating if I want to do a series or if I want to do just one kind of long, like two hour masterclass. Feel free to comment and let me know what you prefer. If you prefer like an hour every week with accountability for like 6 weeks, or if you would rather have like a 2 to 3 hour masterclass so you get everything all at once. That'd be the other thing. But Kaizen for you. Okay, I would love to hear what you do, how you implement this. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow if you haven't yet my channel. There you get more tips on how to live a completely fit lifestyle, fit in mind, body, heart, soul, and spirit, because we're one complete person. And always remember that you've got this. I'm here to serve you. Reach out to me anytime on any of my platforms or email me as in the show notes. Be brave, be kind, live authentically, and always shine. Remember, you're one habit away, and someone over here is cheering you on and believing in you so grandly. You've got this. Make Kaizen yours today.